34-31, Colorado victorious, 3-1 now. I forgot my tripod at home, so we've got to go selfie style on the post-game video here. What are your thoughts?
That was a crazy game. Overall, I think that this was a huge game for the Buffs. I think mentally this was massive for them. I know these players don't have in their minds this is the first time in 17 years they beat a ranked team on the road.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a thing for us. I know these guys don't really care much about the 0-5 in Tempe because they haven't been here for a lot of them. But like Steven Montez has been here for a couple of them, he knows how tough this place is. So this is huge for this team, though, in a lot of ways. Coming off of a loss where people started to doubt them a little bit.
Yeah.
You're coming in here to a hostile place and a ranked team. This is a big one for the Buffaloes, and I think that mentally, I think it's huge.
Arizona State's ranked number 2. I know it's only 3 games in the country in scoring defense, and I had some doubts about this game, and maybe CU fans want me to continue to have doubts because my prediction seems to be a good omen for them when I predict them to lose. But we did expect Steven Montez to bounce back. That's something we talked about in our preview video. Over 300 yards of passing. One of the more efficient games he's had as a quarterback here.
Yeah, and I thought he was impressive all day. He downplayed it. He was pretty humble afterwards, but I thought he was impressive all game long. 3 touchdowns, 337. He was efficient, and one of the things I like, there was a couple times I noticed on the sidelines. He was named a captain this week. He's the first guy to be named twice. They named game captains. First one to be named twice this season. But a few times on the sidelines, I watched him go over, like Delrick Abrams coming out of the second half is down there trying to work out his arm and get that going. Steven Montez was sitting next to him and just kind of, hey, how you doing? Watching through binoculars, I'm seeing this. How you doing? Kind of patting him on the back, hey, we need you, things like that. I saw him do that a few times. That's a leader, and this guy stepped up as a leader tonight, and I thought he was pretty humble in his impact tonight, but I thought he was massive. I thought he was a big reason they won this game.
One of the biggest concerns we had about this team was depth, and yet Laviska Shenault goes down, Mustafa Johnson goes down, and they're out with Delrick Abrams Jr. for a while, Jaron Mangum's out for a while, Chris Miller goes out. It was just a never-ending list of guys.
And you didn't have Aaron Maddox to start with,
Yeah, so. And even Onu had an issue there for a minute.
Yeah.
To me, the resiliency of this group that we've seen this season has probably been the number one attribute that I've been most impressed with.
Yeah, for sure. And tonight it really showed up. You saw guys that we haven't seen all year. Bo Bishrad on offense. He hasn't played offense all year. He makes a big catch tonight. You saw Darian Rakestraw, who has not played much safety this year, comes in, gets a start. He has a big interception. Jeremiah Doss was on the field for the first time, this year. KJ Trujillo got in there for a little bit. So, the depth is a concern, and it's still a concern going forward because they have a bye week, and that's great. But they had a lot of guys nicked up tonight. We haven't even mentioned the big one, really, but Laviska Shenault was, that's going to be a major question mark over the next 2 weeks.
The fact that they're not even disclosing what's going on there has to make you a little concerned about him going forward. Obviously, they're as great as Tony Brown was tonight, and we got to talk about him as well. And they've got a lot of other playmakers. But for them to achieve their goals this year, they're going to have to get Laviska Shenault back out there.
They are, and I think part of them not disclosing it is because he's Laviska, and maybe they don't want to expose what the injury is and have that come back and haunt him later. But like Mustafa Johnson, they said ankle. It was pretty obvious it was an ankle, so they could hide it maybe a little bit with Laviska. But Tony Brown, maybe the player of the game. You could argue Steven. Tony Brown, though, fantastic tonight, and they needed him, and they've said all year, hey, if you double Laviska, if we don't have Laviska, we got other guys. And people are like, yeah, but it's Laviska. They have other guys. There's a lot of other guys on this team, and Tony Brown was pretty fantastic.
We can't key in on the offensive line every play, but it sure seemed like that was one of the best performances they've had in a long time. Steven Montez had a lot of time back in the pocket.
He really did, and the running backs had room to run. They had 3 different running backs go tonight, and I don't know what the total yardage is, but they ran the ball well. Steven was upright pretty much all game, and they were massive this week after not a very good game last week.
This defense, it's going to have its issues throughout the season. There's no doubt about that. But for them to go out there, late in the game, and they got after Jalen Daniels, and they got pressure on him twice. That stand, they just need to have moments like that. Yeah. The Rakestraw interception, that moment. They're never going to be perfect in a game, but if they can have enough of those series, this team can be really successful.
Well, and I chatted with Tyson Summers briefly afterwards, and he said, really, it's been like all 4 games. We have about 5 minutes every game where we're just not very good. and that was kind of the case tonight. It was I think it was late first quarter, early second quarter that ASU kind of came back and really put it to them for a few minutes. But overall, this team plays pretty solid defense, and they did rise up when it mattered most.
Bye week comes at a great time, obviously.
Yep.
It's nice for us too,
Yes.
get a little break as well. What are your thoughts with this team now going into the bye week? A beatable Arizona team coming out to Folsom Field. How much does this season and the potential for CU success look differently to you after this win than maybe going into the game?
You know, it's funny because that's what I love about college football. The narrative kind of changes each week.
Yeah.
You know, and after Nebraska, it's like, oh boy, this team's going to a bowl game for sure. Maybe Pac-12 South title. Then they lose to Air Force, and it's like, well, they're going to go to a bowl at all. Well, now they win this game. It's like they're going to a bowl game, you know. And so for me, you kind of have to dial it down a little bit, maybe be more even keel. This team is very capable of going to a bowl game. Let's put it that way. I think this team, there's 3 more wins out there for a team that plays like that.
All right, well, I'll try to remember my tripod next time we do one of these videos. The team is off on Monday, so we'll be back with more analysis on Tuesday.